The authors are Dr. Lawrence Mayer, an epidemiologist also trained as a psychiatrist, and Dr. Paul McHugh, arguably the most important figure in American psychiatry in the last half-century. What we found is that there's a large gap between, on the one hand, the certainty with which beliefs are held about these matters, and on the other, what a sober assessment of the science reveals.
I think in the transgender world and the world of both heterosexual and homosexual life, the assumption that science has given us full answers and it is complete is closing off debate about what further science is needed, what the nature of the contemporary science really is.
The science isn't settled.
Science is never settled, okay? That there's always another and better experiment and a better study to do. The claim that it is settled now, that the issues such as born that way or you're fixed or it's immutable, there is no evidence from the science that those things are correct.
What can science tell us about the health and mental health outcomes for people who identify as a gender other than their biological sex?
Well, although the data is very limited, the data that we have is quite alarming, that people who identify as transgender have higher rates of mental health problems and even higher rates of suicidal thoughts, ideation, and attempts than the general population. This is a concern to me as an epidemiologist. I care about the welfare of children a great deal. In fact, it's probably my primary concern, and I got involved when I read more and more statements about the discovery that children as young as 2 years old were transgendered, or their parents declared they were transgendered. When in fact, majority of children who at some time in their life identify with members of the opposite sex actually grow out of that. The notion of gender among children is very, very fluid.
Do we know anything about the different kinds of treatments and their mental health outcomes when it comes to children?
No, we have very limited data because what we need is long-term follow-up data of what happens to these kids if they identify, if they're encouraged in that identification, or if they're given hormone-blocking therapies, or even if they have surgery. We really don't have long-term follow-up data. This is a vulnerable population. I want to focus on their vulnerabilities.